For this webinar, I would like to start with just a couple PowerPoint slides where I will explain you the concept of Qualibrate and which problem you can tackle with Qualibrate within your organization. Next to that, why customers decide to use Qualibrate. After a couple PowerPoint slides, we will start with a live demonstration where I will show you the main functionalities of our solution. As you may know, this is a graph from SAP itself, which is basically trying to say that you have a lot of changes in your project lifecycle. Not only in SAP projects, but of course also in any other project, for example, Salesforce. At the beginning of your project, you have an implementation of a business process. Then you could have a change of your process and even an enhancement of the process. So a lot of changes, and every change in a project lifecycle has an impact on your business process documentation. For example, you have your process documented in Word, which you need to update. But also the manual test case in another tool, for example, Excel. And if you have an automation tool in place, like SAP TAO or HPUFT, you need to update the test scripts as well. And at last, you need to update the training document so that the end users can be trained on the new process. So within your organization, you maybe have around 3 or 4 different tools, which all needs to be updated after every change, even though we're talking about the same single business process. We found this an inefficient way of working. I'm not sure, but I hope you agree with this point. Next to that, many organizations would like to start with test automation, since manual testing is taking too long and it's taking too many resources. Since all the test automation tools on the market are quite complex to use, and therefore many organizations are struggling to start with test automation. We at Qualibrate believe in simple solutions, and we think we can make test automation more accessible for non-technical users. For example, business and functional analysts. That's why we developed Qualibrate. At Qualibrate, we developed on the left-hand side, you can see it, the recording widget, the Qualibrate recording widget. With this widget, you can start doing the recording of a business process in SAP and any other web application, for example, Salesforce or SAP Fiori. The recording widget will capture everything that you're executing on the system. So the data that you enter, the users, the steps, and also the screenshot and the technical knowledge behind every step. When you save the recording to our platform, it automatically captures or creates for you an automated test case for regression testing, a manual test for the user acceptance testing, but also your business process documentation, and of course the end user training. The nice part of it is when your process changes, you change it only once and all those 4 deliverables will be updated automatically. So this is basically the concept of Qualibrate and how it works. Here are key benefits Qualibrate's customers are currently achieving with our solution. For example, 80% savings in time and resources. On the slide, you can also find some of our customers. We are ramping up our customers base not only here in the Netherlands, because we are located here in the Netherlands, but also in the US, with customers like Textron and Bell Helicopter. Since we are engaging with our partnerships around the world to prove the value of our offering across different industries. But I think we had enough slides. I would like to dive into the demonstration together. Since you all registered for this webinar through our website, we asked you to tell us what kind of application you would like to see tested. As you could see in the graph, most of you choose the SAP GUI system. Therefore, I would like to show you a demonstration with Qualibrate on the SAP GUI system. Please don't feel sad if you choose Fiori, Salesforce, or Amazon, or any other application. If after this demonstration you would like to see Qualibrate work on any other application, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, let's move into the demonstration, guys. I hope you can all follow. If you have any questions, you can write them down at the Zoom message. What I will do now is I'm going to connect to our preview environment of Qualibrate. I will also log in with my username and my password. As you can see, when I'm logged in with my username and my password, I have a couple projects that are assigned to my user. So within your organization, you can have multiple projects. But for this demonstration, I'm going to select a demo folder or project. On the left-hand side, you can see how you can structure your business processes within Qualibrate. So this is an example of how you can structure those. If you have the structure listed in Excel, you can also import this structure into Qualibrate, or you can create all kinds of folders manually by selecting the button here, New. If I open up the Sales and Marketing folder, underneath that I have a process which is quotation processing. And underneath that, I have a blue folder. We call this a business process. And in this case, it's the create quotation. Since you can execute the create quotation or a business process multiple ways, we want to record every single way. So underneath the process, we have a flow, and the flow is basically the variance of a business process. If I open up a demo DXC in the US, at the flow sequence, you can see the outcome of a recording. But since this is a live demonstration, I would like to do the recording together to show you how easily you can record a business process and how you can use this for your automation purposes. For now, I'm going to select where I'm going to do a recording of a business process. Since it will be the SAP GUI system, I will select the SAP GUI folder. And now I'm going to create a new flow, so a new process, and I will call it Demo Webinar. So now I've created a new process. As you can see, the flow sequence is until this point empty. And at the main details tab, we can add all kinds of information. For example, how the process is built. We can also give it a status, let's say it's in design, and a criticality, let's say it's important to have. This way you can also do some risk-based testing. Now we can start doing the recording of a business process. So now a business analyst can do the recording of the process because they know how the process works. Since they normally don't have a lot of technical expertise or knowledge, we try to keep the recording which is very simple and easy to use so that they can focus on the recording of the process. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to give the task name a name. I call them kind of chapters to kind of give you more structure within the process. So the first chapter for this process will be login to the SAP GUI system. Now I'm going to open up my SAP system and I will log in. As you understand and what I mentioned before, we don't only support the GUI, but also Fiori or any web application. So now I will fill in my username and my password. And the recording widget will capture everything that I'm performing on the system. So the data that I enter, the user action, the screenshot of every step, and the technical knowledge behind every step. Basically everything you need to accelerate your project. I can also open up the recording widget to see what has been recorded. My last action for logging in was pressing enter on SAP. Before that, I filled in my password, my username, and as you can see, my recorded value here is user 11. If I made a mistake, I can easily change it to a different value, or later on when I save it to our web application. And I'll show you later on how that works with the data. So now I created one chapter, login SAP, and normally we would save this flow now, and we would use this flow as multiple building blocks in end-to-end scenarios, right? Because you want to record the login flow only once and use it multiple times. But since we only have a 1 hour max for this webinar, I would like to move into the second chapter. And in this case, it will be, let's create a quotation. I hope you can all follow until this point. But now I'll fill in a transaction code VA21, since we're creating a quotation. And I'll fill in some details regarding this quotation. But as you see, I don't need any technical knowledge to start capturing the business process. I just need to know how the process works. And every step will be saved by the recording widget. And I'll show you later on when I save the recording. As you could see on the recording widget, we have a couple buttons. If I made a mistake, I can undo the last recorded action. I can hit cancel if I made too many mistakes, and it's a big mess, which sometimes happens, of course. I can store certain values. I can add notes. And I can also verify certain actions. If I want to look something up or go for a coffee, I can also pause my recording. But let's try to use the verify together. To use the verify together, I'm first going to create a third chapter, which will be view quotation. I'll use the transaction code VA23. So let's say we want to verify that if we have a material of P100 and a quantity 1, that we always receive a net value of 2,600 euros. So in this case, we want to add a check within our test case, right? So I will hit verify. And as you could see, I can do that on every part of the application. But for now, I'm going to hit the 2,600. And now this has been added within my test. You can see my recorded value is 2,600. A very strong, powerful point of Qualibrate is the first layer of Qualibrate is very business friendly, very user friendly. Because if we go to the configuration tab, you can see the basic tab, and that's very user friendly. As you can see, I can change the verification point from contains to, for example, greater than. But the second layer of Qualibrate is still the more technical part within Qualibrate. So if in your team you have still technical engineers, you can still use them, and you can go to the advanced configuration to use some code to your test. The language that we are using here is C#. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this language. But for now, I'm going to hit cancel. And I'm going to change my recorded value to a lot of 8s. Please remember that. So I think you get the point of how easy it is how you can record a business process with Qualibrate. So what I will do is I'm going to log off my SAP system. I created my 4th chapter. And now I'm going to hit save. So what we've done now together, we did a recording on SAP GUI. I saved it now to the cloud. And now I have the direct input for the automated test. For the automated test for regression, the manual test, the documentation, and the end user training. And I would like to show you this outcome. If I go to my flow sequence, this is the output of my recording. I created 4 chapters, log in SAP, create quotation, view, and log off. And as you can see, every chapter has its own readable descriptions, steps. So for the login, I connected to an SAP session. I filled in my username, my password, and I selected enter or pressed enter. As you could see, Qualibrate the recording widget automatically generated a description of every step. If the description is not correct, you can, if required, also change it to something else. Every step has its own screenshot, including the highlights of the interaction I was actually performing, or the step that I was performing. So instead of creating the documentation manually, writing down what are you performing, adding a screenshot, the recording widget will automatically create a documentation for you. We can also open up the technical details, and we can also add some more information. For example, on the user, that we want to add a comment, that we can also use user 12. But we can also go to the user tab to find some more information. For example, the user action, we can change it manually if we want. The parameter name, we can adjust here as well. The type, and we can make a step mandatory or optional. Then at the automation tab, you can find more technical details behind every step. So this is also captured during my recording. Now it's great that we captured all this steps with the recording widget, but what happens if the process is changing? Because of course that's constantly happening within your project. So let's say, for example, let's get this one. Let's say, for example, the sales office has been added. I'm not sure if this is too small, but let's say the sales office has been added within my process. So instead of doing the whole recording again, what we basically do is we say record from step, and then we just add the part that has been added or changed. So this way we try to keep the maintenance of your process as low as possible. If the order of the steps are not in the right sequence, you can easily adjust them. And of course, we can also delete or insert steps manually. During the recording, we also entered some data. We automatically generated also a data set. The default iteration is basically the iteration of the recording. So this is all the data that I entered during my recording. It's like an online sheet, so if I want, I can also change it to another value. If I want, I can also test it, for example, with a different user. Instead of doing the recording again, we can basically copy this iteration and change the value to a different user. So now we have 2 iterations within this test. But if we have many, many data that we want to enter, we can also download it to Excel. As you understand, use the power of Excel by using as much formulas as you wish. So now I'm just going to copy a couple of iterations just to show you. I'm going to make the iteration name unique. And let's say we want to test again with different usernames, right? And perhaps with different sales organizations. I think you get the point. You can use the power of Excel. I'm going to save it. And if I go back to Qualibrate, I can upload my data set. And there you're ready to go with your new data set. So now we have multiple iterations within one data set. But within Qualibrate, we also have some more options. For example, on the sales organization, we can go to parameter options. And there you see some advanced options for the sales organization. If it's not relevant, we can say skip action. We can again insert simple text. We can also insert from a parameter. Let's say, for example, we create a quotation number that later on that number we want to use to create a sales order. So we want to refer to a parameter before. And we can also insert some advanced formulas. Let's say, for example, with the sales organization that we always want to run with a random number, with a random sales organization. Let's use some more numbers. So it's very configurable. And this way, Qualibrate will always create a random number. And now you see I have a formula within this iteration. So guys, this is a bit about the data sets. If you want to create separate data sets, for example, for different countries, that's also a possibility. For example, data set for the US. All right, so what did we do now? Just a little bit of a recap. We did a recording on SAP GUI. I showed you the output for the documentation and how you can maintain your process, and also how you can work with your data sets. Now we can use this recording not only for your documentation, but also, of course, for your testing. So we can run this script immediately for our automated if I want. So let's start it first automated. I have to select which data set I want to run and which iteration. And now I'm going to hit start. As I would like to show you how easily you can start with automation, I'm going to show you now on my desktop that it will run. I think I'm having some connection issues here at the moment. So for now, let me see, let's execute step again. So I'm having some connection issues here with my system, so I think that's causing the delay. So I will say for here, skip action and continue with the test. All right. And as you see, now it's running my script. It's basically running exactly what I've performed. So therefore, you can use this script for your regression testing. As I'm running it now on my machine, but of course you can also run it, scheduling it. So if you want to run it on Sunday night, when you come to the office, you just want to see the results, right? So now I'm going to verify the net value. It will. And I hope it will pop up now. And now you can see I'm receiving this task maintenance runtime window. Why am I receiving this window? Because I'm running it in debug mode, which means if anything is failing, I want this window to pop up to see what is happening. As you can see, we're in chapter 3, view quotation on step 3.4, verifying the net value. If I want, I can also see the screenshots. Now we can see also more information. As you can see, the expected value, which I changed the value to a lot of 8s, and the actual value was 2,600, and therefore we're receiving this fail. If it's a data-related issue, you can also change it here and retry the step. If it's not a data-related issue, you can go to Object Properties to find some more information. If you're not sure if we're talking about the right object or element, we can say highlight element, and it will highlight the element which we were talking about, which is correct. But for now, I'm going to skip the action and continue with my test. And we finalized our test together. Now at the testing log tab, we can find the log of this test. You can see by who is executed, the start date, the end date, and the status of this log test. You can find here all the steps, and here the step details, the data and input details, and the screenshot of a step that has been taken during the execution. So here you find all the screenshots and all the information of your execution. You can also see here when I was verifying the net value, I skipped it. So everything that you test on will be tracked on. So that was the automated test. As you understand, with no technical knowledge, you can start test automation. Now we can also run this script as a manual test, for example, for the user acceptance testing. So I will hit now start manual execution. We have to select the data set and which iteration we want to run, and I'll hit start again. So instead of having your Excel sheet next to you, now we give you everything you need to accelerate your manual test. As you can see, I have again the 4 chapters that we created together, and every chapter has its own users, actions, but also the data is captured or being shown, and also some buttons. If I manually perform this step, I can say pass or fail. If it's not relevant, I can say skip. I can say show me if I don't know where to fill in this value or select. I can say do it for me if I want to run to the next step. I can show or add the comments. And I can see a screenshot of the step. So basically everything you need to accelerate your manual testing. So let's say we want to first do the step manually. Then we can say we passed it. Let's say I don't know where to fill in my username. I can say show me, as it will highlight on the live application where I need to fill in the value. So since I know how to log in, I can also say do it for me, and we can get to that point that you really want to test manually. As you could see, the colors were light green and dark green. I can show you again. Let me fill in the transaction code manually and select enter and press enter, passed and passed. Light green means I've done it manually, and dark green means I've done it with the do it for me option. So as you understand, understand, with this manual test, you can go through your manual test very fast. But you can also use this manual test as an interactive training on the live system. But of course, we also have a manual or a training simulation as well, which I would like to go into next. I hope it was clear for you how you can use the manual test in your organization. So I'm going to end the manual tester and end my SAP session. And also you can find the testing logs of the manual test also here. So as you can see, it's not completed. But now let's say we have a new employee and he or she needs to be trained on a new process or the process that has been changed. So we need to train every employee of the organization. We can also start this recording as a training session. So this training session is offline. So they can pick up the process and learn the process offline. Again, I have the 4 chapters. And every chapter has, again, the user actions. And then now on the right, instead of having the live application, we just have a screenshot. So we can just basically select next and go through the process and learn it offline. For the lazy colleagues under us, I hope none of you are lazy, we can also select play and lean back and look on what's happening to the process and pick up the process offline. This way it will continue to the next step every 5 seconds. If we want, we can also add comments. For example, if I'm lost, I'm not sure what to do, we can say, I am very lost, guys, help me. This way, my manager or anyone else can later on reply to my comments within Qualibrate. So these are the training capabilities of Qualibrate. So guys, as a short recap, what we've done now, I've done a recording of SAP GUI with our recording widget. I saved it to our web application. I showed you the documentation and how easy it is, how you can maintain the processes, but also how you work with the data within Qualibrate. Then you can run this script also as an automated test, also as a manual test, and also as a training simulation. So these are the 3-in-1 solution that Qualibrate is providing our clients. But now, how can we use these flows or kind of building blocks in end-to-end scenarios, right? Because we want to test everything end-to-end and in a regression set. So let's say, for example, here, we have here a flow which is called demo login. After, we would like to do the create quotation, a view quotation, all the way to log off. So these are kind of the building blocks that we want to run in an end-to-end scenario. So here on the top, you can find the SAP scenario. At the main details tab, you can add, again, all kinds of information. But what is really important is the execution sequence. At the execution sequence, you see the flows. So you see them here, which will be run in this end-to-end scenario. So for this SAP scenario, it will run first the login, the create quotation, again another create quotation, and of course this is not correct. So if we can also adjust it. Let's say we want to delete this instance. Then we want a view, then a goods received, and then an invoice, and then a delivery. And let's say after this we want to log off. So basically we want to add this flow within my end-to-end scenario. We basically easily drag and drop our flow to the end-to-end scenario. And as you can see, it has been added to my process in my scenario. We have to select what kind of execution mode we want to run it. We can say manual or automated or training even. So I'm going to select automated test. And which data set. And now all these flows will be run into this scenario. And of course, you can schedule it so that you want to see the results every time you come back to the office or etc. Now at the execution logs, you can find the logs of the scenario. I can open it up to see exactly what has been performed into the scenario. again, the same log as the testing log, but you can also export this to PDF. Here you can see exactly the logs of this scenario exported into PDF. And this can be useful, for example, for audit purposes. You can see every step and every new screenshot during the execution that has been taken. Okay, so that's the scenario. Maybe also good to know for you is what happens if you have an end-to-end scenario that you log into an SAP GUI system and later on you want to go to Fiori or you want to create a lead in Salesforce. So you go to a web application and then back to the GUI. That's all fine. We all support that. You just have to identify them here within the flow. Now that has been the scenario. On the top left, you can see also some different modules within Qualibrate. We also have a defect module. Of course, we are a testing solution, so you need to be also to track and add defects within Qualibrate. If I open up one existing defect, you can see an example on the fields on what you can have in a defect within Qualibrate. So these fields can be all configurable to your own wishes of your organization. So for example, instead of detected by, you want to see what kind of system is infected by it. We can also change it. Let's say we want to change the status to closed, or we can add or show comments. And behind Qualibrate, we have an email notification, which means I just added, or I even also changed the status, that everybody assigned to this defect, so the person who is assigned to it, but also the guy or woman who detected this defect, will get a notification email by saying, hey, the defect status has been changed to closed. Within the defect, you can also add attachments and find the history of the defect. But good for you to know is these fields can be adjusted to your wishes of your organization. So we're really flexible with that. Now we also have the dashboard module. So what we believe within Qualibrate is very important is that everything that you have in Qualibrate you want to report on, right? So these are just 3 examples on some reporting capabilities we have within Qualibrate. But like I mentioned, everything that you have in Qualibrate you can report on, and you can create your own graphs and your own charts. For example, a tester wants to see how many tests he still has to run, or a developer wants to see how many defects are critical, etc. So you can create your own graphs or charts. Okay, let me see. I think I've showed the main functionalities of our solution. Yeah, let me just quickly recap what we showed or what I did together with you. I showed you the recording of a business process in SAP GUI, that the business analyst can do the recording of the business process. They don't need any technical knowledge. They need to know how the process works. And the recording widget will capture everything that he or she is performing on the system. Then you can save that recording to the cloud, and then you see the documentation, which is easy, adjustable, and maintainable, and also the data set underneath the flow. Now you can run this test or this recording now as a manual test for the user acceptance testing, but also as an automated test, and also as a training simulation for the end users to train them on the new process. But of course, within Qualibrate, you want to run the test in end-to-end scenarios. So therefore, we have the capability of creating scenarios within Qualibrate. Within Qualibrate, we can also have the defect module where you can track and add defects, and the dashboard module where you can report everything on that you have in Qualibrate. I think I've showed you now all the main functionalities. So
yeah, thank you, Sophie. That looks very interesting. So that's your chance to submit your questions. We'll go through a Q&A session right now. But before that, I'd like to ask to Alan if there's anything he'd like to add to this demo.
first of all, thanks everyone for having the time to take a look at the demo. And of course, Sophie, thanks for showing us a fantastic demonstration of what we have in terms of the solution that we plan to bring to market. Probably the only thing I have to add on top of that is it's basically what we are trying to do is try to make test automation much more accessible for teams. Part of our background is actually on consulting around QA and testing services. And our consulting group, our people are highly skilled on not only Qualibrate, but actually best of breed solutions available in the market, like HP, Micro Focus, UFT. We have also a lot of expertise on frameworks like Selenium, Catalan, Tricentis, Tosca, Worksoft, etc. So what we try to do with Qualibrate is basically take the best of all worlds, but also add a simplified experience on top of it. And the reason we did that is because nowadays you see organizations moving more into agile, or even trying to adopt continuous integration, continuous delivery and deployment type of DevOps delivery paradigms. And organizations are moving into working into teams, which need to be, let's say, multi-skilled. So testing is no longer a separate activity. Testing and quality is part of the team, is part of the let's say, the skill set that is part of a group of people that are trying to deliver good software. So that's why with Qualibrate, what we try to do is to make it all inclusive. It doesn't matter if you're a technical person or a non-technical user, such as business analyst or functional analyst or even product owner. We try to encompass the whole delivery of your product, of your applications, into an easy, understandable way. So essentially what we're trying to do with Qualibrate is just to simplify the automation experience. But of course, underneath, it's still a very powerful automation tool. That's why we show the advanced capabilities around it. So test engineers, product owners, testers, developers, and business analysts can have the conversation around the business process. So I hope you guys liked what you saw. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some questions here and there. Please feel free to ask them, and then we can answer some of those questions, hoping that we can clarify.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for adding that. So, guys, does anyone have any questions about Qualibrate, about testing? Now is your chance to ask anything. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I think we have shy people in this webinar, but no worries. If you come up with any question, you can actually address them to Sophie, contact her directly. Also, if you're willing to see a demo of any other application, because as Sophie said, it's not only SAP, but also web application. So I think that's all. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time, Alan and Sophie, and have a nice evening.
Thanks everybody for joining. And like Martina said, if you have any questions or you would like to see a demo on any other application, for example, Fiori or Salesforce, please feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to show you another demonstration of Qualibrate. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.